Welcome to How to Practice English at Home Effectively. Join me as I challenge myself to improve my English skills in just 1 week using these tips. Chapter 1. Introducing the challenge, setting goals together. Alex sat in his small living room, scrolling through his English study app, feeling more frustrated with every passing second. Despite months of studying grammar and vocabulary, he still struggled with real conversations. He had all the pieces, but didn't know how to put them together. English fluency felt just out of reach. But today was different. Today, he'd asked his friends Lily, Sam, Maria, Ben, and Sarah over, determined to find a new approach. As they arrived, Alex greeted each one with a hopeful smile, eager to share his plan. "Thanks for coming, everyone," Alex began, sitting forward with intensity. "I want to take this seriously. I want to finally speak English fluently. But I need help. I can't do it alone." Maria, his friend who had a natural knack for languages, leaned in. "So, what's the plan? We're all here for the same reason, right?" Her eyes sparked with excitement. "Exactly," Alex replied. "I thought, why not make this a group effort? We could each set personal goals, work on our English, and keep each other accountable. A real challenge to reach fluency." Ben chuckled, folding his arms. "You mean like a team mission? We help each other through the toughest parts." "Exactly," Alex agreed. "And we can use real-life techniques, not just the usual drills. I want us to practice speaking like we're in actual situations." Lily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "So, no textbooks?" "No textbooks," Alex confirmed, shaking his head with determination. "Just conversations, role plays, and techniques we can use at home. But there's one thing," he paused, the silence amplifying his next words. "We each have to set a goal that really pushes us. Something personal that we'll have to fight to achieve." The group exchanged glances, feeling the weight of his words. Sam, always up for a challenge, was the first to speak. "All right, I'm in. My goal will be to improve my pronunciation enough to sound clear, even to native speakers." The others nodded, considering their own goals. Maria chimed in. "I want to stop hesitating when I speak. I want my thoughts to flow naturally." Ben and Sarah each set their goals, and finally, it was Alex's turn. He hesitated, feeling his nerves rise. "My goal is to hold a full conversation without freezing up. I want to be able to connect with people, to really express myself." There was a pause, a silent acknowledgement of the courage it took for each of them to voice their ambitions. But then Alex added one more challenge, his voice steady and serious. "There's just one rule," he said, leaning forward. "We have to meet every week and show progress. No skipping out, no excuses." A shared sense of excitement filled the room, mixed with anticipation. They were not just friends now. They were allies on a shared journey, each facing their own struggle, but committed to supporting each other. But there was one lingering thought in Alex's mind, something he didn't voice. Could they actually stick to their goals? He knew that staying motivated wouldn't be easy. Would they all push through the discomfort and reach fluency together, or would some fall behind? This question hung in the air as they finished their conversation, unspoken but felt by everyone. "All right," Sam said, breaking the silence with a grin. "Let's make a pact. We're not quitting until we can each say we've reached our goal." Everyone nodded, placing their hands together in a mock cheer, their laughter filling the room. As they said their goodbyes, Alex felt a spark of hope. This challenge was real, and they had each other to lean on. But the question of whether they'd all make it through the ups and downs lingered in his mind, fueling his determination. This unspoken promise would follow them through every chapter of their journey, only to be answered in Chapter 5 when they faced their first real test. They left with a mixture of excitement and anticipation, knowing that the journey would be tough but worth it. And as they walked out, Alex couldn't help but wonder if they'd have what it takes to see it through to the end. This question would guide them forward, setting the stage for the ultimate answer in Chapter 7. Chapter 2. The Power of Speaking Aloud, Practicing with Self-Talk. The next morning, Alex stood in front of the bathroom mirror, remembering the pact he'd made with his friends. Their challenge had officially begun, and he felt both nervous and excited. They'd all agreed to start with a technique Maria had suggested: self-talk. The idea was simple: to talk aloud to himself in English, narrating his thoughts, actions, or even pretending to have short conversations. Alex took a deep breath, looking at his reflection. He felt a little silly at first. Talking to himself in the mirror, it sounded strange. But he remembered his goal: to be able to speak fluently without freezing. If self-talk was the first step, he was ready to give it everything he had. He glanced around his small apartment, trying to figure out where to start. The morning routine seemed like a good choice. "All right," he murmured to himself, "let's do this." "Good morning, Alex," he said to his reflection, trying to sound as natural as possible. "Today, you're going to practice speaking English like you're in a real conversation." His voice sounded shaky, but he pushed through. He picked up his toothbrush and continued, describing his actions as he went along. "Now I'm brushing my teeth," he muttered, laughing at himself but feeling a little more comfortable. "And I'll make breakfast next. Maybe eggs? Yeah, eggs sound good." As he moved through his routine, something surprising happened. The initial awkwardness started to fade, and he began to enjoy the process. The words were flowing, maybe not perfectly, but with an ease he hadn't expected. After breakfast, Alex sat at his kitchen table, still talking aloud. He imagined his friends around him, sharing in his progress. "This isn't so bad," he said, taking a sip of his coffee. "If I can do this every day, maybe I'll stop hesitating when I speak." Just then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Maria, checking in on everyone's progress. "Maria, good morning, everyone. How's the self-talk going?" Alex grinned, typing back, "Alex, it feels weird, but I think it's helping. Talking to myself is strangely fun." The group chat buzzed with responses. Sam admitted he felt awkward too, but Lily shared that she'd started narrating her morning walk, describing everything she saw in English. Each friend shared their small victories and struggles, and Alex felt a warmth of support from their messages. They were in this together, each pushing through the initial discomfort to reach their goals. With renewed energy, Alex continued his self-talk practice throughout the day. As he did the dishes, he described his actions. "I'm washing this plate, and then I'll dry it. Maybe I should cook pasta tonight." He was narrating his entire day, from chores to decisions. It was like practicing for a conversation that might happen at any moment. By the time evening came, he realized he had been talking to himself in English for nearly the whole day. That evening, Alex sat on his couch, reflecting on the day's progress. He felt more connected to his goal, each spoken sentence a step closer to fluency. It was as if he was gradually breaking down a wall he hadn't known was there. He sent a final message in the group chat, thanking everyone for their support and sharing his excitement about the progress he was already feeling. He knew that they'd all be facing their own challenges, just as he was, but he also knew they'd be there for each other along the way. As he put his phone down, a new thought struck him. What if self-talk could go beyond routines? Could he practice holding real conversations, even pretend dialogues with his friends? With this new idea in mind, he set a personal challenge. By the end of the week, he'd have a full conversation with himself, no hesitations. He wasn't sure if he'd manage it, but the possibility filled him with anticipation. The open question of whether he could maintain this new habit would drive him forward, setting the stage for their next group meeting. The journey was just beginning, but Alex felt more determined than ever. Chapter 3: Shadowing Practice. Following a native speaker. The next day, Alex was ready to try something new. He'd read about shadowing, a technique where you repeat what a native speaker says, imitating their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. He'd heard that it was one of the best ways to sound natural, and after yesterday's success with self-talk, he was feeling more confident. As he sat in his living room, he opened a YouTube video of a native English speaker giving a casual interview. He chose a short clip where the speaker talked about their day, simple enough to follow, yet real enough to push him out of his comfort zone. He put on his headphones and hit play, his heart racing a little. As the speaker introduced themselves, Alex tried to repeat each sentence right after, matching the speaker's tone as closely as he could. "Hi, I'm James, and today I want to talk about my morning routine." Alex echoed, "Hi, I'm James, and today I want to talk about my morning routine." He stumbled a bit, noticing how different his own voice sounded compared to the native speaker. His accent, his rhythm, everything felt a little off. But he remembered the pact with his friends. This wasn't about sounding perfect on the first try. It was about improving together. He took a deep breath and replayed the sentence, shadowing it again and again until he could almost feel the speaker's tone becoming part of his own. After about 10 minutes, he was getting the hang of it. He continued with each sentence, finding a rhythm between listening and repeating. He focused on small details, the rise and fall of the speaker's voice, the way certain words were emphasized, and the pauses between thoughts. Just then, his phone vibrated with a message from Sam in their group chat. "Sam, hey everyone, how's shadowing going? It's harder than I thought." Alex smiled, relieved to know he wasn't alone in his struggle. He typed a quick reply. "Alex, definitely a challenge. But I'm noticing small improvements already." Lily chimed in with encouragement. "Lily, keep at it everyone. I'm finding it helpful to focus on just one phrase at a time." Taking her advice to heart, Alex decided to go back and shadow a single phrase repeatedly until it felt natural. He rewound the video and focused on a simple line, "I always start my day with a cup of coffee." He closed his eyes, letting the words sink in. I always start my day with a cup of coffee, he repeated, gradually picking up the speaker's rhythm and tone. After a few tries, he noticed his own voice beginning to sound more relaxed, more natural. The awkwardness was fading, replaced by a sense of rhythm and flow. Shadowing felt like learning a melody. Each word had its own beat, and he was starting to find his own rhythm within it. As he continued, Alex felt a spark of excitement. This was the most real practice he'd ever had with English. It was no longer just words. It was a language, alive and dynamic, something he could feel himself becoming a part of. His phone buzzed again with a message from Maria. Maria, guys, this is tough, but I'm starting to get it. Imagine where we'll be in a month if we keep this up. Alex smiled, inspired by her enthusiasm. He felt the same determination rising within him. They were all in this together, and he was committed to seeing it through. Taking off his headphones, Alex spoke out loud, feeling more connected to the language than ever before. I always start my day with a cup of coffee, he repeated, his voice carrying a newfound confidence. But a question lingered in his mind. Would shadowing help him speak naturally in a real conversation? He knew that this technique was just the beginning, and he couldn't wait to see how it would translate to actual conversations with his friends. The thought kept him motivated, knowing that each day was building towards something bigger. With a deep breath, Alex promised himself he'd continue shadowing until English felt as natural as his own thoughts. The journey was challenging, but he could feel the progress. One word at a time. Chapter 4. Role-playing conversations for real-life scenarios. Alex was feeling more confident after his practice with shadowing, but he knew that his real goal was to speak fluently in everyday situations. His friends had agreed to meet up that evening for a new technique, role-playing real-life scenarios. They'd each chosen a common situation to act out together, pushing themselves to respond naturally, just like they would in real life. Alex felt a mix of excitement and nerves as he prepared, wondering how this would go. As his friends arrived at his apartment, Maria wasted no time diving into their first scenario. "Okay, Alex," she said with a grin, "you're a customer in a cafe, and I'm the barista. You're ordering a coffee for the first time in English. Let's go." Alex laughed, relaxing a little at the playful energy in the room. Taking a breath, he stepped into the role, speaking aloud. "Hi. Could I get a large coffee, please?" Maria nodded in her barista role, pretending to take his order. "Sure. Would you like milk or sugar with that?" Alex thought for a moment, then responded, "Just milk, please." "Oh, and could I also have a muffin?" The words flowed more easily than he'd expected. He was surprised by how natural it felt to speak English in this setting, even though it was just practice. As they went back and forth, he noticed himself responding faster, with less hesitation. After they finished the cafe scenario, Sam, who had been observing, spoke up with enthusiasm. "That was great, Alex. Now let's try something a bit more challenging. Imagine you're at the airport and I'm the check-in agent. You've lost your boarding pass, and you need help finding it." Alex took a deep breath, ready for the challenge. "Excuse me," he began, his tone shifting to one of concern. "I think I've lost my boarding pass. Can you help me?" Sam, playing the part of the check-in agent, nodded seriously. "Of course, sir. Can you give me your passport and the flight details?" Alex pretended to hand over his passport and responded, "Sure, my flight is to New York, and I was supposed to depart at 10:30. They continued the role play, Alex explaining his situation and Sam guiding him through the process of finding his boarding pass. With each response, Alex felt his confidence growing. He could feel himself starting to think in English, reacting to the situation rather than translating in his mind. After a few more scenarios, including ordering at a restaurant and asking for directions, everyone paused to reflect. Lily looked at Alex with a proud smile. "Alex, you're getting so much faster. It's like watching you in real situations." Alex felt a surge of pride, but couldn't shake the feeling of a lingering question. Would he be able to respond naturally when it really mattered? Like in a high-stakes situation? He hadn't faced that yet, but he knew that with his friends by his side, he was on the right path. Sarah, noticing his thoughtful expression, added, "The best part about this is that it's like rehearsing for real life. When the situation comes up, you'll have already practiced it." Her words reassured him. This was more than just practice. It was preparing for his future experiences in English-speaking environments. The role-playing wasn't just fun. It was essential training. As they wrapped up the evening, they agreed to continue meeting weekly to practice different scenarios. Alex felt a wave of gratitude for his friends, realizing how much he'd grown with their support. Before leaving, Sam suggested, "How about next time we all meet at a real cafe and practice ordering for real?" Everyone agreed with enthusiasm, and Alex felt a spark of excitement. This was the perfect opportunity to test himself in an actual setting, to see if he could translate their role-playing into reality. As he waved goodbye to his friends, Alex felt a powerful sense of anticipation. The next chapter of his journey wasn't just about practicing scenarios in a comfortable setting. It was about stepping into real life, taking these skills out of his living room and into the world. And he was ready. Chapter 5. Recording and reviewing practice sessions. The following week, Alex was excited yet nervous to try a new technique, recording and reviewing his practice sessions. His friend Sam had suggested it, saying it was the best way to catch subtle mistakes and improve pronunciation. Alex understood the value, but was anxious about hearing his own voice. Would he sound awkward? Would he notice things he'd rather ignore? Despite his doubts, Alex was determined. That evening, he gathered his friends at his apartment, setting up his phone on the table to record. They decided to run through different scenarios, much like they had with the role-playing, but this time with the added pressure of recording. "All right, everyone," Alex said, pressing the record button. "Let's give this our best shot." No pressure, right? His attempt at humor eased the tension, and his friends laughed, sharing in the nervousness. Their first scenario was a simple one, ordering food at a restaurant. Maria played the role of the waiter, and Alex was the customer. He focused on making his pronunciation clear and his tone natural. "Hi, I'd like a cheeseburger with no onions and a side of fries, please," Alex said, trying to sound confident. Maria responded, "Of course. Would you like anything to drink?" Alex hesitated slightly, realizing he hadn't thought about this. Yes, a soda," please?" They continued the exchange, then moved on to the next scenario. This time, Sam was a hotel receptionist, and Alex was a guest checking in. With each role play, he grew more comfortable, forgetting about the recording and focusing on the conversation itself. Once they had completed a few scenarios, Alex stopped the recording, his heart pounding slightly. It was time to review. They gathered around the phone as he pressed play, and his own voice filled the room. At first, Alex cringed a bit, hearing his own voice echo back. But as they listened, he realized that the recording gave him a new perspective. He could hear where his tones sounded hesitant or where he rushed through a sentence. That was actually not too bad, he admitted, feeling relieved. Sam nodded, pointing out some specific areas. "See here? When you said please, you kind of dropped the end of the word. If you slow down just a little, it'll sound clearer." Lily chimed in with a smile. "And here, when you ordered the drink, you hesitated. But I think if you practice that sentence a few times, it'll flow perfectly." Their feedback was gentle but constructive, each of them picking out little details that Alex hadn't noticed. Rather than feeling discouraged, he felt motivated. This was the feedback he needed to improve, and having his friend's support made it even more valuable. "All right," Alex said, determined. "Let's try again. This time, I'll focus on those specific areas." They recorded a second round, with Alex putting into practice the adjustments they'd discussed. When they listened back this time, he could hear the difference. His words flowed more naturally, and he felt a surge of pride in the progress he was making. After their practice session, as his friends prepared to leave, Alex felt a lingering question in his mind. Would he be able to keep this up on his own? Recording and reviewing with friends was motivating, but he knew he'd need to continue the habit by himself. Before leaving, Maria turned to him with an encouraging smile. "You're doing great, Alex. Just remember, you can record yourself anytime, even when we're not around. It'll keep you improving." Her words reassured him, and he realized that this was a step towards self-reliance. With each recorded session, he was learning more than just pronunciation. He was building a skill that he could carry with him, whether he had his friends by his side or not. As he watched his friends leave, Alex felt a surge of determination. The idea of recording his progress became more than just a practice tool. It became a way to mark his journey, a way to see how far he'd come. The next day, he promised himself he would record a solo session, testing himself without any support. The thought of it was intimidating, but he knew that each recording would bring him closer to his goal of fluency. And he was ready to take the leap. Chapter 6. Playing Games to Expand Vocabulary. The following Saturday, Alex and his friends gathered again, but this time, the atmosphere was lighter. After the intensity of recording sessions, they decided to take a different approach to learning, playing vocabulary games. Maria had suggested it, saying that it was a fun way to learn without feeling the pressure to speak perfectly. Alex, who was always up for a good game, loved the idea. "All right, everyone," Maria began, holding a stack of index cards she'd prepared. "We're going to play a game called Word Relay. I'll give each of you a word, and you have to describe it without saying the word itself. Whoever guesses the most words by the end wins." Alex's face lit up. "This sounds fun. Let's see if we can stump each other. Maria shuffled the cards, and the first word she handed out was for Sam. He looked at it and immediately burst out laughing. Oh, this is tricky. Okay, here goes. It's something you use in the morning to make yourself smell nice. Perfume? Lily guessed, but Sam shook his head. Nope, it's smaller and it usually comes in a stick. Alex snapped his fingers. Deodorant? Sam grinned, nodding. Yes. Got it. The group cheered, and Sam handed the next card to Alex. His word was microwave, and he took a moment to think. All right, it's something you find in the kitchen, and it makes food hot but really fast. Microwave, Maria shouted, and they all laughed. As the game went on, they got more creative with their clues and guesses, challenging each other to come up with more descriptive hints. Playing this game felt refreshing, and Alex realized he was learning new words without even trying. Each guess led to new discussions and explanations, and he noticed his vocabulary expanding naturally. Next, they decided to try word chain, a game where each person had to say a word that started with the last letter of the previous word. Alex started with apple. Egg, said Maria. Giraffe, added Ben. As they went around, the words got trickier, and they found themselves learning new vocabulary from each other. When Lily struggled with a word, Sam chimed in with a suggestion, creating a friendly, supportive atmosphere. Alex loved how these games didn't feel like studying. It was more like spending time with friends and challenging each other in a playful way. Between rounds, Maria explained why games were so effective for language learning. When we play games, we're using vocabulary without overthinking it. It makes the words stick because we're associating them with fun memories, she said, a smile on her face. Alex nodded, reflecting on how much he'd learned already. It's amazing. I didn't even realize I was learning so many new words. It's like each game session is a little story we're creating together. Sam laughed, agreeing. Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty competitive, so this is just extra motivation. As they continued playing, Alex's mind was buzzing with new words and phrases. He felt a deeper connection to the language, like it was becoming a part of him through these shared experiences. The laughter, the friendly competition, the silly guesses. It all made learning feel effortless and enjoyable. After the games ended, they sat around chatting about their favorite parts. Alex was filled with gratitude for his friends, who had turned language practice into something he looked forward to. Yet, he couldn't shake a new question in his mind. Would he remember all these words in a real conversation? This question lingered as they planned to meet next week for their final session. He hoped these games would translate into real improvement when he needed it most. As he walked home that evening, Alex felt both excited and a little nervous. The journey had been filled with surprises, and he knew that the ultimate test of his progress was just around the corner. But with each game, each laugh, and each word he'd learned, he felt a growing sense of confidence. He was ready to see how far he'd come. Chapter 7. Reflecting and Planning for Future Practice. As Alex and his friends gathered for their final session, he felt a mixture of pride and anticipation. They had come so far together, from goal setting to self-talk, shadowing, role-playing, recording, and even playing games to expand their vocabulary. Each technique had brought new challenges and victories, And now it was time to reflect on their journey and make plans for the future. Maria spoke up first, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled over them. It's amazing to think about where we started. Remember that first session? We were all so nervous. Everyone laughed, nodding in agreement. Sam leaned back in his chair with a smile. And now look at us. We've each reached goals we thought were impossible. Alex felt a warm pride rising in his chest. This journey had been challenging, but with each friend by his side, he had overcome so many barriers. I can't believe it's only been a few weeks. I feel like I've grown years in my English skills. Lily smiled, patting him on the back. You've really come a long way, Alex. I remember how hesitant you were at first, but now you sound so natural. Her words brought a lump to his throat. He hadn't realized just how much he'd changed, but hearing it from his friends made it real. Thank you, all of you. I couldn't have done it alone. Every session with you has been like adding another piece to the puzzle. The group nodded, each of them reflecting on their own progress. Maria, who had struggled with hesitation in conversations, now felt comfortable speaking without pausing to translate in her mind. Sam's pronunciation had become clearer, and he no longer worried about being misunderstood. They had all achieved so much together. Then Alex asked a question that had been on his mind for a while. So what's next? I mean, we've come so far, but I don't want this to end. Everyone looked at each other, a spark of excitement in their eyes. It was Maria who suggested the next step. How about we keep meeting once a month? We could set new goals, try different techniques, and keep supporting each other. Sam nodded enthusiastically. Yes, and maybe we could challenge ourselves with more advanced topics, like giving presentations or debating. The thought made Alex's heart race. He knew that these new challenges would push him even further, and the idea of tackling them with his friends filled him with determination. I love that idea. We could even work on things like job interviews or storytelling. Real-life situations where we'll need English. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, each suggestion adding excitement to their future plans. They decided to keep practicing the techniques they'd learned, but with more complexity, to keep building on their progress. As they prepared to say goodbye, Alex felt a bittersweet feeling. This journey, the one they had started together, had changed him in ways he couldn't fully express. But he knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new chapter. Before leaving, Maria looked at him and smiled. Remember, Alex, each conversation, each technique we've tried, it's all part of your story now. You're not just learning English, you're living it. Her words resonated deeply, and Alex felt a sense of closure. This journey had become his story, a narrative of growth, friendship, and courage. As they left the room, Alex walked with a lighter step, a newfound confidence guiding him. His friends were by his side, and he knew they would continue to be a part of his journey, supporting each other as they reached new heights. He looked forward to the challenges ahead, knowing that with each step, he was becoming more fluent not just in English, but in expressing himself. And as he stepped out into the world, ready for whatever came next, Alex knew that the story he'd written with his friends was just the beginning of his lifelong journey in language and friendship. Enjoyed the video? Show your support by giving it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our amazing content. Lastly, share your thoughts with us. What did you enjoy, and what topics would you like to see on our channel Immerse in English? And finally, welcome to our next video. The best way to improve English pronunciation. After countless struggles and embarrassing misunderstandings, Carlos found the ultimate key to mastering clear and confident English pronunciation. Curious to uncover the secrets that turned his frustration into fluent success? Watch now and transform your journey too.